Hello everyone, welcome to BIM Coordination Summit and to my presentation. Title for this presentation is Who Should Start with Dynamo and How? My name is Dejan Kovacevic. I'm a mechanical engineer. I did create dynamoscripts.com and I work in the company Team CAD in Serbia on the position Autodesk MEP application engineer. The next couple of slides will be introduction, and then we will talk about the common obstacles that we have on the Dynamo trainings. It doesn't matter if you're approaching as individual or a company. We have the common issues before, during, and after the training. I want to point them out, and hopefully you will be able to skip all those obstacles that we usually have. Now, to answer that question, who should learn Dynamo? Basically, anyone who did heard about Dynamo and maybe saw Dynamo capability to some videos, or maybe your colleague or somebody that you know told you with Dynamo you can create that and that, and you did like that. So if you did heard about Dynamo, that is great. If you're interested into the learning Dynamo, it doesn't matter on which position you're actually working in your company. As long as you are interested, that is good enough for you to start learning Dynamo. And on different projects in different states, you will see different organization. And usually I just want to point over here with this image that you will see some BIM organization chart into the BIM execution plan, and usually there you will find some persons that you will not see on the project. In reality, often you will have the same person which will perform a lot of different tasks and roles and so on. But okay, again, engineers can learn Dynamo, enthusiasts can learn Dynamo, and it can be a company decision that you want to make your project more efficient, people more productive, and you want also to have better quality of the projects. That all of that is okay, all of that is possible. Just before we start with implementation, we need carefully to select the people and so on. We will talk about it. What is usually deceiving is the Dynamo user interface. When you take a look at Dynamo for the first time, you will see working area and the library with the nodes, and pretty much that is it. But with Dynamo, you can create very, very complex things. But if we are now talking that engineers will learn Dynamo, except their previous knowledge in their fields, they will also need to learn now some programming skills, because that will be necessary for them in order to understand that some parameter value it's a text, some parameter value it's a number, and when you want to change them, you cannot have a textual value to be placed in the field where you expect true or false value and that kind of stuff. I want to show you some small example how Dynamo simple user interface actually can be deceiving, because you can do a lot with Dynamo, and now I will show you one script with just a couple of nodes. So what we have over here, we have that Autodesk sample file. We are in the some 3D view. In the 3D view we have some elements, and I did turn on collaboration for this model. And now over here we have some Dynamo script with just 4 different nodes. And what this script will do, this node will delete all the elements that you have in the view which you did open. This node over here will automatically save your local file, and it will also synchronize automatically your model. And this node over here will just throw some pop-up windows. I think that I did set that I need to click 10 times in order for this node to stop showing those windows, but you can actually type 1,000,000 times. So you will delete all the elements, save and synchronize, and you will also create a situation where the user cannot just exit from the Dynamo or Revit. Even if you click 1,000,000 times, because you did save and synchronize, you will not be able to perform undo. So it is a simple script. Pay attention what you're opening from the internet. Test all the scripts on some test models. Do not use scripts that you did download online on your actual projects. So let's see side by side. I will click run. So the script did delete the elements. Now this is an example for BIM Coordination Summit. So now I need to click, I think 10 times on those pop-up windows. Okay, now everything is executed. And now, because the model is saved and it's also synchronized, I cannot undo. And if I exit from the model and if we open it again, if we open central file, you will see that we do not have those elements anymore. So let's go into the central model. And those elements are not hidden, they're actually deleted. So as you can see, we don't have elements over here. If something was hidden, then those elements are not deleted, because I did set into the script that we should delete all elements that are visible. And that is it, just some small example that you should test all Dynamo scripts that you receive either from some website or from someone that you don't know on some test models. And also you can actually create complex things in Dynamo. It doesn't matter how many nodes you have in the Dynamo script. Okay, this is how I imagine that you will have a learning path with Dynamo. You do not need to go through all of those steps. I just want to show what is possible. Of course, first step will always be just to open Dynamo. Usually people ask me how I need to install Dynamo. Dynamo for Revit will come with each and every version of Revit that you download and install nowadays. So by purchasing the Revit, you did also get Dynamo. And when you install Revit, you will also have Dynamo. So by going to the Manage tab and clicking on the Dynamo, you did complete your first step, you did open the Dynamo. And okay, now either through the paid training or by free online courses, on all sorts of ways you can learn Dynamo. I never did pay for any course regarding the Revit or Dynamo. I did learn everything by myself, so you can also do it. You just need to have enough time and you need to have some discipline. Our paid courses are mainly for the people who do not have so much free time by their own to learn, because on our courses we will tell you what you need actually to learn immediately, what things you can learn later, and we can also focus on exactly what you need. You can approach and say, I want to learn the basic training and I also want to learn everything that I need to know in order to create that kind of script. And then we can basically adjust the training and we'll just include the topics that you need. So, okay, you did open Dynamo, you did find some materials in order to learn. And usually what will come next is either to modify some existing script or to create your own script. Creation of your own script is probably the most painful things to do in this entire process. If you succeed with that, all other steps will be so much easier for you. The next thing, basically now, if we are talking on the company level, when one user needs to work on some script, or if one user needs to run one script, that is one thing. But if you need to incorporate the scripts to work with, let's say 10 or 20 people inside your company, then you will try to avoid all those common Dynamo sensitive problems like custom packages. And from that point, you will try to optimize those scripts in order to make sure that they actually work for different Revit versions, for different users, and so on. So that will include replacing those custom nodes with Python nodes, and that will also mean that you will need to learn Revit API. Next thing is, if needed, so if you have now the company which have different branches in different countries all over the world, then it will be great if you can develop Revit add-ins that will basically now remove a lot of different Dynamo sensitive problems. And I did create entire video, more than 20 minutes, about the common Dynamo problems. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. You can find what those problems are and how to solve them. So yes, next step in this process is to learn C#, to start working in the Visual Studio, and to learn even more about the Revit API. And like the final step from my perspective is creation of the Revit add-ins. that is great. If possible, you will need a lot of working hours to go from opening the Dynamo to the creation of the Revit add-ins, but it is possible. Okay, now regarding the learning process for Dynamo, as I did mention, you don't need to pay basically for anything except for the Revit. In order to learn Dynamo, there is so much free materials online. If you have enough time, you will be able to learn anything. But if you're considering paying for the Dynamo trainings, Dynamo implementation, it will be great if the people who will attend those trainings have some foundation, have some basic foundation, so can more easily go through the top topics that they find to be hard for them. And in those kind of situations, paid trainings can actually improve that overall Dynamo implementation experience. What I did also mention in previous slides is that it doesn't matter actually from which background you're coming to Dynamo, but in order to understand Dynamo, you will actually need to learn how to make algorithms. Sometimes you will create the algorithms on fly when you're creating some Dynamo script, but sometimes actually it will be needed that you draw some algorithm on the paper in order to realize what you must do first, second, third, and so on, in order to have the script running in a way as you did imagine. I'm not programmer by profession, and this is not some official algorithm, but usually in 99% cases, what you want to do in Dynamo is to collect some elements, either schedules, sheets, or different elements, and then maybe you want to fill a lot of parameters, or maybe you want to insert the legends in all your sheets. So you will collect some elements, and then you want to do something with those elements. And then either internally in Dynamo, you want to have some output, you want to have some confirmation that everything that you did imagine it's now completed, or you want to create some kind of report, either PDF or Excel report. And that is the usually algorithm for the most of Dynamo scripts. Collect data, do something with those data. If everything is done, great, proceed to the output, or if it's not, then go again back, maybe pick up more elements or change something, and then declare that as a finished task and go to the report. But you will need to understand that, especially with the transactions, sometimes when you want to create some script that in the same script needs to create elements and to fill some data for those elements, you will need to know that at first you need to create those elements into Revit, and then you will need to grab them and to do whatever you want to do with them. Or you can create some complex algorithm inside that one script. You can click once in Dynamo to run, and it can execute 5 different Dynamo scripts at once, because you did set where the transaction will end and start it again. But yeah, so learning algorithms, it will be something that you will need to do. And I did mention various Dynamo problems. Usually at the beginning, you will see that in order to run some scripts, you will need to install custom packages. So you will need to see what do we consider as a custom package, how to install them. You will also see that because you did create, or somebody did create a Dynamo script for the Revit version 2021, it will not work in the version 2023. You will need to modify some things, and you have like 10 or 20 those kind of problems. You will need to know about them, and you need to know how to solve those issues. Something which is specific are the limitations. So if you did pay for the beginner course, which I think it's 10 working hours, so it's a 1.5, for example, working day, you cannot expect that you will learn everything there is about Dynamo and that you will be so proficient that you will create any kind of script. That is not possible. So basically you have a linear function between the working hours that you did spend in Dynamo and your knowledge. So the more time that you spend by learning something, your knowledge will rise, but you should have realistic expectation of trainings, especially when you're paying for them. Underestimating time required for implementation. Again, that is closely related with your organization. So if you have a BIM coordinator and that BIM coordinator have a workload of 120% during the day, you just cannot expect that that person will learn Dynamo, implement, teach others, and so on. I mean, you can if you just hire another people that will took some of the responsibility that BIM coordinator already have, and then he or she will have a time to learn something new. But you cannot just add new stuff to the people which already have a very high workload. And actually, that is a very common problem which I see on the trainings. Also, what is very important to mention is if you did pick some number of people that will attend those trainings, it is very important that, for example, if we have 4 different people from one company that need to attend the trainings, if somebody have a resistance toward learning new skills and new tools and so on, you should not force people to learn something if they are not interested, if they're thinking that that is not relevant, that is not needed, and so on. You just do not force them to learn, because their resistance will also affect other person that want to learn. Common problem is that maybe in order to have cheaper overall cost of implementation of Dynamo, you will maybe send only one person to attend trainings, then you will hope that one person will teach 10 others in your company whatever he or she learned. But with other workloads, that usually it's not going to happen. And I think that is it for this slide. And now for practical insight, you will probably have your own idea for some Dynamo script. I will strongly suggest before you start creation of the new script to go to the BIM forum and to see if somebody already create that kind of script. Sometimes you will find the files and it will be easier for you just either to use that script or to modify according to your needs. But sometimes you also find the comments that there are some Revit API limitations that does not allow in that particular Revit version that something's be done. For example, if you want to delete a bunch of work sets, you can do that from the version 2022.1 and later. But if you want to have that kind of script for the Revit 2021, simply it's not possible because Revit API wasn't exposed for that version. And I think also with Revit updates for the Revit 2021, you will still not have a possibility to delete work sets through the Revit API. So sometimes you will find entire scripts, sometimes you will find that somebody else did create some effort to create some script and it faced some limitations, and that is also a good signal for you to not waste your time on that script. If you have, that is actually a great thing. If you have somebody that you know and that person knows Dynamo, either that person works in your company or it is close to you, you should heavily rely on that person. I did mention the limitations. If you face some Revit API limitation, basically except creating a wish on the Revit roadmap page, you cannot do much. Okay, what you need to consider is to have sufficient time for Dynamo implementation. As any other tool, again, back to the realistic expectations. If some training is 2-3 days, 3 weeks, it doesn't matter. You cannot expect that after the training, the people will know everything there is to know about the tool. They will need to invest their own times in further development of their knowledge and benefits that your company will have. And we also did have examples where the company will send a couple of people in order for them to learn Dynamo, but again, those people have their own daily responsibilities, and in one case we did have good practice that actually they will say, okay, now we understand Dynamo complexity and we will not have time to create our own scripts, but we will like that you create the scripts that we need. We will try to teach the others to use them, and we will try to modify them if we have some small modifications. I think that is a win-win situation because you will not stop with the implementation of a new tool, and the company will have still benefits. Maybe it will cost a bit more, but at the end, your company is more efficient. The people are not doing the same repetitive tasks. Again, those people will be included in the Dynamo script development. I think that is it. Thank you for watching this presentation. If you have any questions, you can either ask now or you can send any questions to my emails. Thank you for watching. Bye.